Hey Student Success, this is your video for week 3 that runs from February 1st through the 7th. So just a real quick thing, I'm really enjoying reading your post and getting to know you online, and hopefully you are comfortable now posting and submitting things. So week 3, before I get right into the folder, I just want to remind you, you have this student services assignment, and right here is hopefully, the document that you can't register through this document, but this document goes through and it shows you like every single workshop that's being produced throughout the semester. And because this is a 16-week course, you have until the end of the semester to do this assignment. So that was one of your options. Of course, the other option is if you were looking to maybe be part of the Student Leadership Academy, there's information there. Regardless how you do that, if you're looking for one of those workshops, you register in My Stark State under that Academic Support tab where it says Student Success Workshops. If you're looking to do the Student Leadership Academy, the information is right there. So that is going to be due at the end of the semester. You are turning in your certificate of completion, and that'll earn you your 20 points for that particular assignment. So I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that and reminding. I've already actually had, I think, 2 or 3 of you submit it because you took one of those Blackboard for Beginners courses. So that was nice to see. Okay, so we are going to scroll down. We're in week 3. Week 3 starts chapter 4 of our text. And so you'll see that there is just one assignment this week. You have a discussion post to make this week, and then, of course, respond to 2 classmates. So you want to make sure for attendance purposes, you are posting your original response by Wednesday the 3rd, and then respond to 2 classmates by Sunday the 7th. So before we get into that, I'm going to go ahead and get into the materials folder. And we have our textbook link and we have our slides. So chapter 4 textbook is already pulled up here. Listening, taking notes, and remembering. So as I've said in previous videos, I really want you to kind of focus on what you think you need the most help on. So maybe you know that you're a struggling listener. Maybe you know that being able to recall things and work on your memory is an issue, or it's note-taking, or whatever the case might be. You might like skip right to that particular section and really hone in there, or maybe you feel like I'm just going to go through it all. So as a reminder, again, with your text, it really does go through like some self-assessments to kind of see where you are and give you some feedback on that, and then the objectives, and then it gets into the actual material, and this starts talking about the differences between high school and college. Remember to go to the next page down here at the bottom right. You click and it'll navigate to the next section. So again, that's the chapter and how it's set up, and really, again, focus on what you think is most beneficial for you. So that is chapter 4. I'm going to pull up the little slides here, and they normally open up right here. So I'm going to go through the main points. These all connect to chapter 4. So listening, taking notes, and remembering. And it says this is not like high school. Some of you are CCP students, some of you are fresh out of high school, some of you are returning students. So I know everyone's kind of in a different place right now, but the reminder is, college should be approached differently than you did with high school, because you are more personally responsible for your learning, especially online. You don't have that teacher right in front of you, where I do with my face-to-face classes, allowing students to ask questions right on the spot, to get immediate feedback, to kind of be reminded of things. So not only are you more personally responsible because you're a college student, but because you're taking online classes, even more so. So you want to make sure that you're managing your time and that you really are trying to learn for learning's sake. So if you have the approach that, I just need to get a certain GPA, I'm just going to go through the motions, that's not going to help you in the long run. So you really want to make sure you go through the process of actually trying to learn the material. So what does that mean? Well, preparing for class. Now, a lot of these tips do refer to if you are in a physical classroom, but a lot of this can also apply to online classes. Some of these things, like making sure that you're taking care of yourself, that applies no matter what. Sleep, eat well, exercise, some of those things that are a little easier said than done, but are really important. So make sure that you take care of yourself. Make sure before every class or every video, what are you trying to learn? What is the point? How is it going to help you in this course? How is it going to help you in your field? If you're in an actual physical class, make sure that you're on time, have all your materials ready to go, so all of that, some of the things are like really common sense, but sometimes you just need like a reminder just to make sure you really are going through those steps to make sure that you're prepared. A big thing I'm seeing is from discussion posts from all of my online classes, because you guys have similar prompts, is the distraction that our devices provide. They are a great distraction, whether it's because something, we get a notification or we just want to check something real quick. So turning them off, putting them in our bag, putting them in a different room, whatever the case might be, can really help us try to focus on what's going on in the moment and not what's going on our phone. So if you're in an actual lecture classroom or you're listening to a lecture now, get in the right space. That might mean you need to physically be in the right space, but also in your right mind space, making sure that you are focused, you're not multitasking, thinking about all the things you have to do later. If you're in a physical space classroom, sit where it's going to be hard for you to not pay attention. Often that does mean toward the front of the room, so that you're not kind of in the back of the classroom where you're going to be more likely to maybe kind of daydream, but also if you're at home, finding a space that is going to be conducive to your studying, your academics, not on your bed where it's tempting to rest, or not in the middle of the dining room during dinner. So those kind of things, make sure that you're eliminating distractions. And then if you're in an actual classroom, listening for signals when an instructor repeats or talks a little bit more quickly or raises their voice or puts things on the board, those are all verbal, like those audio clues that you should kind of mark that information down or make a mental note about that. So also listen for what's not being said. Maybe the instructor does not go over something. That is a signal that it's not important enough to maybe write down at that time. Sort information, take notes, whether you are a bullet point note taker, a Cornell note taker. And you'll see some of these methods in our chapter 4. Let me go down here again. I always like to point this section out regardless, because, and let me say first of all that not everyone needs to take notes. Some people, their strength really is just listening. So they like to listen and they can take in information that way. So if that's your strength, then you might only jot down things every once in a while. But for some of us, I'm saying us because I am a note taker. I have to take notes or I will forget things. You need to find the note-taking method that works really well for you. And so in our chapter, it does go through some different methods. I really like Cornell notes. Because they really do help you kind of organize your notes. And so if you're looking for a method, that might be one to try if you're not a normal note taker. But then it does go through all of these different kinds of strategies and what they look like and their benefits to them. So that's an important part of the note-taking process there I would encourage you to look at. So make sure you know what kind of notes you're going to take, and then ask questions, please. That's what we're here for, is asking questions. Some students are very hesitant to ask questions, and that's okay. You might not want to ask questions in class. What I would recommend doing is jot down your question, and then after class or in an email or whatever, then ask the question. The important thing is just to get that question asked. And then sometimes if you're in an actual classroom, taping lectures could be helpful, so you can go back and replay it. So you just want to ask for permission for that though first. So these are some, what to do if you have an issue, if your instructor speaks too quickly, if there's an accent involved. So there's some tips there if you're in an actual physical classroom and you cannot re-listen to a lecture. Here, this is also a little note on note-taking. Again, it's not a blanket statement because not everyone needs to take notes, but it is important because it does support your listening. It also allows you to test your understanding. If you take notes, you can kind of create a study guide based on that. It allows you to practice your comprehension because you're pulling out key ideas, and it gives you kind of that sense of what the instructor thinks is important, because maybe you read the chapter and you're like, I don't know. But if you take notes and you listen in a classroom, they're going to pull those particular key points out. And this was what I just pulled up in our text, these different types of note-taking methods. So maybe look and see, what is your current method? Is that working? If it is, great. If it's not working, maybe is there something else you could try? These are also note-taking tips. One of the biggest things I tell my students, in face-to-face classes, is if we're going to go over chapter 2, on Monday, try to take a look at chapter 2 over the weekend. Just get a feel for it, set that prior knowledge, because then when you're in class, if you already have some background knowledge because you've read or skimmed the chapter, you don't think that every single little thing is important because you already have some knowledge on it. You can like really focus on the key points or maybe asking questions about things that you didn't understand. Also, some kind of basic note-taking tips is label the date. What date did you take these notes? Because that can be really helpful, just kind of making sure that you're organizing them in such a way. Don't try to write down everything that is said. You want to pull out key points, key names, key terms, whatever that might be, depending on the lecture. If you kind of come up with some kind of shorthand, make sure you know what your abbreviations and things stand for. Leave some space in case you need to go back and put some things in, or highlight if something is not making sense, and then review your notes as soon as possible. The quicker you review your notes, the better for comprehension purposes. And then even putting your notes in a summary toward the end after class are all things that are going to help not only with your note taking, but also your studying and your overall comprehension. So what if you miss class? Again, if this is an online class like ours, this isn't as relevant, but if you're in a face-to-face class, here are some, basic things. Again, some of this is common sense, but you may not even think about, okay, I missed the class, maybe they upload their lecture, or maybe I, can ask someone else for their notes, or make sure you check the syllabus. That's the big thing. And then finally, some memory tips. I don't know if anyone struggles with memory. That's one of the things some students will say, like, I just have a hard time remembering. So your chapter goes into memory techniques. So I'll go to that section here real quick also. So it's going to go into depth with this. The slide only covers one slide, but this will talk about like, how does memory work? Like, what does that process look like? And here are some tips on what to do to improve your memory. And there's like a little exercise your memory activity if you want to try that. And then here are some strategies, some mnemonics. So you've probably heard of like Roy G. Biv or Holmes to remember different things, to remember key, concepts, doing acrostics, coming up with a rhyme. I know when I was studying during my doctoral program, I always put things in like little rhymes or songs. It sounded silly to everyone around me, but it really did help me to remember. So that's what this section talks about. Find what works for you. Repeat the information, eliminate distractions, use images, study with other people if you're able to, even if it's online or like through a virtual meeting. One of the other things also, the most powerful way to study is to practice test. So whether that means like a actual practice test, flashcards, having someone quiz you, because not only are you practicing the material, you're also practicing your memory part of retrieving the information. And so that is helpful all the way around. All right, so that is your kind of chapter 4 information, so to speak. And you'll see chapter 4 is continued in week 4. So I'll review that in week 4, but won't go as in depth. So now the actual assignment, you have one discussion post, and you'll go into the assignments and it'll look like you have 2 assignments to complete. You don't, kind of. You have this survey, so you'll click and it's going to pop up in another little box here. And it's going to talk.
Now that you've read about focused listening,
so you're going to type your name in right there and you'll hit continue or next, and it'll ask you some questions about your listening and a little bit of your note taking and what you do and what you don't do. And you'll kind of rank yourself, and it'll give you like a score at the end. It'll say, you scored 6 points. You have some work to do or something along those lines. I do not see your survey, but you will use your survey results to answer your discussion forum questions. So you'll see the questions are, how did you do? So you can say, oh, I got, 10 points, or, oh, it said I needed to really improve. Did the results surprise you? Like, no, I already knew I had some work to do, or yeah, I thought I was a really good listener. And what's your plan for improvement? As you were taking the survey, they're going to ask you questions about your note taking, about your listening, and you can be like, oh, I don't do that, or maybe that is something I need to think of. So that is what you're doing for your discussion forum. You first take the survey, and then using your survey results, you answer these 3 questions. And of course, when you're done, you'll go back and you'll respond to 2 classmates' posts. So that is your only assignment for this week, is your discussion forum using your survey results. So please make sure that you post your original response by Wednesday for week 3 attendance, and by Sunday, respond to 2 classmates in that forum. If you have any questions on that, please let me know, and I hope you all have a great week. Bye.